Hello, welcome. Before I get started, I want to apologize for the quality of this video. I'm having problems with my camera. For months now, I've been having on and off problems with my camera. It's been a challenge and I did recently move. So I'm just getting settled in and I'm hoping that I can make more videos, but I'm definitely gonna have to figure out the camera. But anyways, I want to talk about how the shadow work can actually clear your energy. You may know people who have like a freshness about them or some new vigor about them, and you're just like, how do you do that? And you may even think that these people are just lucky, right? Like, these people are just lucky, everything's going well for them, and they don't show much of struggle in their life. But that's not true. We all have struggle. I used to struggle because I grew up where I have neglect and abandonment wounds from childhood. And a lot of how I maneuvered through life was based on those wounds that I went through in childhood. And for me to do the shadow work to clear that energy from my energy field, now when people meet me, a lot of people have re-met me and they've expressed to me that I am not the same, which is good. They've expressed to me that they don't see why anyone would treat me in such a way, which is great. And I can tell that people really want to include me, which is the exact opposite of where I was at, where I felt constantly neglected or abandoned by either my partners or friends and even family. The shadow work, whether or not you've been through a lot of things that validated your feelings of that self lack or self-worth issues, those can be cleared up just because of shadow work. You have to rewrite the story and want this for yourself. If you feel that you deserve better treatment in your life, that's an indicator that it's out there and it's available to you. But sometimes without the shadow work, you don't know that these things are available to you because we see through the lens based on what we've already experienced. We have these things I like to bring up called chakras, right? And each chakra has its own energetic signature. Let's say you've experienced a life where you've dealt with a lot of things growing up that make it very hard for you to see it any other way in your day-to-day life. Then when you're seeing things that way, it's really because your sense of logic is to maneuver around those experiences, because you grew up having to maneuver a certain way for your own survival. And it can even be that you feel certain ways, not just maneuvering with your actions, but you actually feel certain ways because of what you've encountered in your life. All these programs are based on previous things. When you do the shadow work, you want to really sort through what narrative you've been following, okay? Sometimes we're given a narrative and it's not our choice, okay? Our family gives us these stories, or people see us a certain way and we identify with those things, okay? And so it's fair. It's fair that you've had to maneuver through life a certain way, and it's completely fine. Definitely is not your fault that you have a certain sense of getting around based on how you grew up. The shadow occurs because there are needs that weren't met, okay? You have some unmet needs, things that weren't fulfilled. It can be things that you needed, or it could be things that you wanted. So these are your shadow aspects, okay? And what happens is that we maneuver through life because we have this shadow. And this shadow, it derives from what's subconscious to us. So sometimes we can be aware that we're maneuvering with our shadow aspect. That's more intentional. If you're intentionally doing that, then sure, there has to be a reason, right? But if you're not aware of that, then it's because there are things from your subconscious memory that make it so then you feel you need to. I brought up that I have some wounds around abandonment, okay? So now, well, not now, but before my awareness towards those wounds, I would either seek out people who were going to play out that abandonment for me to re-experience again and again until I became aware of it. Or I will try to create circumstances where no one can leave me, okay? And of course, both of these ways of living isn't going to serve me long term, right? But me doing that is a subconscious response to my shadow. When we have the shadow aspect and we're projecting it out, it can be seen in all kinds of ways. Like we could be seen as arrogant, we can do things that appear petty, we can come off selfish, lacking empathy even. So to clear up all of these shadow aspects, what you're doing is identifying why you behave this way. If you do feel that some of these shadow aspects serve you, by all means, keep them. You don't have to clear every shadow aspect. In the end, we're all going to have some form of shadow, and it's because it's necessary for our survival. But if you want clearer energy, then you have to start questioning why you have these tendencies. If you have the tendencies to be a certain way, then it's okay to look at those things. And there's no need to shame yourself further, because although the shadow work will bring up feelings of shame, the shame just indicates where we could reestablish ourselves to create a better circumstance. Not so then we can delve into our shame, okay? The shame is what we're trying to heal here. And normally we're moving through with shame. We're moving through our lives because of shame. If you don't know the difference between shame and guilt, let's just go over that really quickly. The guilt would be you trying to get away with something, okay? Like you're guilty because you're trying to get away with something. But then the shame is the shoulda, coulda, woulda in yourself about having to do it this way. And then you feel you're using the shame to actually avoid being ashamed, to avoid being shamed by others. So that's how we maneuver through those fear frequencies. Those fear frequencies can dominate your life when you have no awareness to it. We cling on to our emotions because it gives us a sense of identity, but some things just aren't worth identifying with. You're projecting these characteristics or this energy out, all right? This energy is what's felt amongst other people. And this is how people identify you and your energy and your energetic signature. It's based on how you maneuver, but just how you're feeling and what you're not expressing. And of course, the things that you don't express, they're still going to be felt. And the reason for that is because we have this awesome throat chakra that gives us our impression. And however we've been maneuvering with our solar plexus and how we feel in our sacral, all those things get processed through either our body language, our language, spoken or unspoken, or even the things that we're willing to listen to. And if you have an impression where you've had to maneuver a certain way, either in secret or you have to do so in silence, that's going to be felt in your energy signature. You may come off petty because you're hiding something. You may come off arrogant because you're trying not to show your hand. But this hiding energy is that shadow energy that people are picking up on. The key is to stop hiding from yourself. Even when you're hiding from yourself, you're not willing to show other people these things about you. And not saying that you have to, but just you having that resolution with yourself will clear that energy up where you don't even have to express it anymore. So to clear it up, there are a couple things that I do. I validate my own experiences. And my validation from my experiences has to be enough for me, because in the end, I'm the one that experienced it. And not just me having to validate my experience, but I have to accept that I did maneuver in this way. It served me for those times. But if I want to feel more confidence in myself, if I want to feel like I am worthy of a better life or better things or quality relationships, then I have to recognize that those qualities exist within me. I'm just not bringing it out because I've been hiding and holding on to so much other emotional baggage. And I have to make space so then I can actually see these things in my life. You have to ask yourself why you behave in certain ways, right? And you have to ask yourself, do you close your heart or do you overshare your heart? Is it because you were hurt in the past? Is it because no one understands you? Or at least it seems like no one understands you? Or is it because you just desperately want someone to understand you? When we feel hopeless, we dive into that shadow aspect, because if there's nothing that you can do for that space, all you can do is go into that shadow aspect and maybe even play out some escapism. But that escapism is what allows that shadow to continue. Do you close your heart because you've been hurt? And if that's the case, could you open your heart and see what it's like to receive a different kind of experience, maybe one that you've never experienced before? Would you actually be open to that? Another thing that I like to point out is that when we see someone in their shadow, right, sometimes we try to control or try to gain control over them while they're in their shadow, right? And of course we do this because it triggers something within us. It's showing something within us that we need to work on, because our attention, our ability to see is seeing that aspect of them, but we can only see what we're connecting with, right? So when you're feeling that urge to control someone or take control or have power over something, it's an indicator that that is something within you that could be worked on. And these indicators are good for us. In fact, they help us understand ourselves more. And the only way to really make a difference in anyone's life is to work on ourselves, clear our own energy, so then we no longer move in a certain way and we don't spread the same energy around. So then when people see us, they have to look at something, and most likely that process of shadow work will start happening within them. I will see you in my next video when I get a new camera. Take care.